Long ago, in a land where the rivers sang their endless songs and the forests whispered secrets to those who dared to listen, there lived a man who called himself the greatest boss of all time. His name was Chief Oduma. The people feared him, not because he was wise, not because he was kind, but because he was rich, powerful, and merciless. He controlled the markets, he controlled the farmlands, he controlled the people's wages, and he even controlled the words that left their lips. If you asked the villagers who was stronger, the king in the palace or Oduma in his mansion, they would whisper the same answer: Oduma. Oduma had not been born into royalty. No, he was the son of a poor hunter. His father's spear was broken, his hut leaky, and his cooking pot rarely saw meat. As a boy, Oduma walked barefoot in the dust, watching the sons of chiefs eat steaming bowls of yam and soup, while he sucked on bones and chewed bitter leaves to fool his belly. In his young heart a fire grew, a hunger. He swore, "One day I will never beg again. One day I will sit above kings. One day I will be the boss of all bosses." From that day, Oduma's life was driven by ambition. He worked for traders, carrying heavy loads of salt and kola nuts on his small back. He listened carefully as they argued, bargained, and tricked each other. Every trick they used, Oduma stored in his mind. When he became a man, he used those tricks tenfold. He cheated farmers by weighing their goods on crooked scales. He took more than he gave, smiling all the while. With the profits, he bought land, and with land, he bought power. Soon, he owned vast farms. But farming was not enough. Oduma needed workers, strong men, weak men, it did not matter. He bought them as slaves. Day and night they toiled, while he grew fatter, richer, harder. When a widow's husband died, Oduma came like a vulture. "Give me your land in exchange for protection," he said. And when she refused, his men beat her until she bled. The land became his. When a fisherman caught 10 baskets of tilapia, Oduma's guards took 7. A tax, they said. The fishermen's children cried for hunger, while Oduma feasted on their fish. And yet, no matter how much he took, he was never satisfied. Oduma was tall, broad-shouldered, with a chest like a war drum. His eyes were sharp, always calculating, always measuring. Every morning as the cock crowed, his compound stirred with activity. Cattle were driven to the fields, carts were loaded with goods for trade. Servants polished his sandals until they shone like the sun itself. And yet, for all his power, Oduma carried one fear, the fear of death. You see, Oduma loved life too much, the taste of palm wine on his lips, the sound of drums in his courtyard, the sweet perfume of young maidens, the riches that grew in his storerooms. Life was delicious, and Oduma wanted to feast on it forever. The elders warned him, "Oduma, wealth without kindness is like a tree without roots. It will not stand." But Oduma only laughed. "Money is my root, power is my trunk. I am the boss of bosses, and none can challenge me." When the chiefs of the land gathered to choose a new ruler, Oduma did not wait for the voices of the people. He arrived with bags of gold and armed men. He bribed the greedy, he threatened the fearful, and before long the throne was his. Not through love, not through honor, but through gold and intimidation. The people bowed before him, but their hearts were heavy. Under Oduma's rule, the land grew quiet. Traders in the marketplace sold their goods with fear in their eyes, for his guards could take half of everything at a whim. Women whispered at night, hiding coins in clay pots beneath the floor, lest Oduma's men seize them. Children grew thin, and yet Oduma's storerooms overflowed. His compound spread wide. His wives wore beads of gold, their wrists heavy with bracelets. His bodyguards strutted with spears tipped in iron, proud to serve the boss of bosses. But the truth was this: though Oduma had power, he had no love. Though he had riches, he had no honor. And though his people bowed, their hearts were like stones against him. One evening Oduma called for a great feast. Goats were slaughtered, plantains roasted, palm wine poured until it flowed like rivers. The drums thundered, flutes sang, and the fire blazed high into the sky. Oduma sat above them all, his belly swollen with meat, his rings glittering in the firelight. He roared with laughter, his voice rising above the music. "Tell me, who among you is greater than I? Even the spirits bow to my wealth. I can buy anything, anyone, at any time." The crowd fell silent. No one dared answer. Some lowered their heads, others clenched their fists in secret. And then, from the shadows, an old woman rose. Her back was bent like a bow. Her hair was white as ash. Her hands shook as she leaned on a crooked staff. Yet when she spoke, her voice carried sharp as a spear. She said, "There is one thing you cannot buy, Chief Oduma. You cannot buy death. Boss Oduma, I have traveled far and seen many seasons. My bones are weak, but my spirit carries wisdom. Last night I dreamed of you. I saw the shadow of death standing at your gate. The spirits say, 'Prepare yourself, your time draws near.'" The crowd gasped. The drums stuttered into silence. Even the fire seemed to shrink. Oduma's laughter froze. His eyes narrowed. He roared, "Seize her!" But when the guards reached the place where she had stood, there was no one, only shadows. Then Oduma threw back his head and laughed, his deep voice shaking the rafters. "Old lady, do you think I, Boss Oduma, fear death? If death wants to come for me, let him come. I will not bow. I will outsmart him. I am the boss here, not death." The elders of the land shook their heads sadly. No man outsmarts death, not even a boss. That night, Oduma lay awake on his wide bed, staring at the ceiling. "The shadow of death at my gate. Could it be true?" Her words echoed in his mind like a curse. "You cannot buy death. You cannot buy death." Sleep would not come. At last he sat up and whispered to himself, "If death wants me, I will build the fortress so strong even the spirits cannot enter." And so began Oduma's obsession. At dawn he summoned his workers. "Gather stone cutters, masons, and carpenters. Build me walls higher than the tallest iroko tree. Dig trenches deeper than a riverbed. I will live in a fortress no shadow can cross." Day after day, the village shook with the sound of hammers and chisels. Dust filled the air as workers toiled. Children pressed their noses against the gates, whispering, "What is Oduma building?" Traders passing by muttered, "The boss wants to lock out death himself." Soon a mighty fortress rose, encircled by walls so thick even 10 men linking hands could not stretch across. Bronze gates gleamed under the sun. Spikes crowned the walls. Guards stood watch day and night. But Oduma was not satisfied. He brought in healers and medicine men from distant lands. Some painted charms on his doorway. Others buried cowrie shells beneath the floor. One tied an amulet around Oduma's neck and swore, "As long as you wear this, no evil will touch you." Still, Oduma was restless. He ordered priests to sacrifice goats, chickens, even cows. One moonless night, as the fortress slept, Oduma heard a knock. Knock. It was soft, almost gentle. He sat up, sweat chilling his skin. Who could be knocking at such an hour? He reached for his spear and crept to the door. "Who is there?" he demanded. A calm voice answered, "It is I." Oduma frowned. "I? Who is I?" The voice replied, "I am the one you have been waiting for." A chill swept through Oduma's chest. He shouted, "Guards, to me!" But when the guards arrived and flung the gates open, there was no one, only the whisper of wind and the rustle of palm leaves. Oduma trembled. That night he could not sleep. The following days, Oduma grew restless. He paced his fortress, muttering to himself. He clutched his gold, as though it could shield him. He began to see death everywhere, in the shadows of his chamber, in the eyes of the old, even in the dreams that haunted his nights. One dream came again and again, death, tall as a tree, walking towards him, step by step, until Oduma woke drenched in sweat. He would not allow it. He would not bow to death. If he was truly the boss of bosses, then even death must obey him. At last he summoned the village diviner, a woman named Mama Oti, feared and respected by all. She gazed into her calabash of water, muttered incantations, and finally looked up. "Boss Oduma, you cannot lock out death, but perhaps you can bargain with him." Oduma leaned forward eagerly. "What must I do?" Mama Oti's voice was steady. "There is an ancient ritual. You must sacrifice the thing most precious to you. Offer it to death freely. Only then may he pass you by." Oduma's mind raced. The most precious thing? His gold? His cattle? His wives? His fortress? That night Oduma sat in his chamber, staring at his son, his only child, sleeping peacefully on a mat. His heart ached. Could this be the price? "No," he whispered fiercely. "I will not give my son. I will find another way. I am the boss." So Oduma sent messengers across the land, into the forests, the mountains, and the darkest caves. They carried gold, ivory, and cowries, crying out, "Death! Death! Come forth! The great Chief Oduma wishes to make him his servant." For 7 nights the land trembled. Strange winds howled through the trees. Dogs barked at empty air. Pregnant women clutched their bellies as chills ran through them. Children woke screaming from nightmares. And then, on the 8th night, death came. The air grew cold. The fires dimmed. A shadow taller than the tallest tree walked into Oduma's courtyard. Its eyes burned like coal. Its voice was colder than midnight itself. "Why do you disturb me, Oduma?" Death asked silently. Then the shadow twisted and took the shape of a weary traveler, cloaked in dust, a silent reaper, ready to claim what was owed. The next morning a stranger came to the fortress. He was tall, lean, dressed as a simple traveler. His eyes, however, gleamed with something unsettling. "Great boss Oduma," the stranger said with a bow, "I hear you are the richest man in these lands. I come seeking work. Allow me to serve in your household." Oduma studied him. Something in the man's calmness unnerved him, but his pride would not allow him to show fear. "Very well. Serve me, and I will reward you." From that day the stranger worked silently in Oduma's compound. He fetched water, chopped firewood, tended cattle. But wherever he went, Oduma's heart raced. The stranger never seemed to tire, never seemed to eat, never seemed to sleep. One evening, Oduma confronted him. "Who are you really?" The stranger smiled faintly. "You know who I am. I am the one you fear. I am the one you tried to lock out. I am the one you want to buy. I am death." The chief forced his chest out, though his knees trembled. "I want to buy you. Name your price. Gold, cows, servants, kingdoms. Whatever you ask, I can give. Serve me, and never touch me." Death laughed. A sound so terrible the rivers froze, the lamps flickered, even Oduma's heart skipped a beat. "Foolish chief, I take both the rich and the poor. I dine with kings and beggars alike. No one buys me." Oduma staggered back, his voice trembling. "No, you cannot take me. I build walls. I made sacrifices." Death's smile did not waver. But Oduma lifted his chin. "Everyone has a price. Name yours." For a long moment, Death was silent. Then his eyes flickered. "Boss Oduma, no wall can keep me out. No charm can bind me. No sacrifice can bribe me. But I will give you one chance, a test." Death said, "At the edge of the forest lies a sick child. Go there and heal him with your wealth. If he lives, I will spare you. But if he dies, your time is up." Oduma's heart pounded. He agreed at once. At dawn he gathered gold, medicines, and his finest healers. They rode to the forest and found the child, thin, fevered, his mother weeping beside him. "Do not cry," Oduma boomed. "The boss has come. This child will live." He ordered the healers to work. They burned herbs, rubbed ointments, whispered prayers. Oduma showered the family with gifts, bags of rice, bolts of cloth, even a goat. But the child grew weaker. By nightfall, his breath was shallow. At midnight, he sighed once and was still. The mother wailed. Oduma froze, and behind him he heard the calm voice. "The test is over, Boss Oduma. You have failed." Oduma fell to his knees, his pride shattered. "Please, spare me. Take my gold, my cattle, my fortress. Take everything. Only let me live." "Well," the stranger remarked. He was now tall, shadow-masked, as tall as the forest itself. "It may not be said that I acted like the feared and fearful Boss Oduma. If you can fill my sack with the tears of those who love you, only then will I let you live." Oduma smiled. "Easy." He sent messengers through the land. "Cry for your great chief. Fill this sack with your tears, and he shall be immortal." But the people only whispered. "Cry for him? The man who taxed us until our children starved? The man who stole land from widows? The man who crushed our spirits?" Some laughed, others spat. Not a single tear was shed. Days passed. The sack stayed empty. Oduma grew desperate. He begged his wives. He pleaded with his servants. He fell on his knees before the traders in the marketplace. "Weep for me," he cried. But they turned away. At last, one person came forward, his only son, Aduke. Aduke was young, tender-hearted, and had not yet seen the fullness of his father's cruelty. He still loved him. He still hoped his father could change. So Aduke wept. He wept for hours, for days. Tears streamed down his face, filling the sack halfway. Death's eyes glowed brighter. Almost there. Just a little more. But Aduke's body trembled, his strength drained away, his face grew pale, and at last he collapsed to the ground lifeless. His tears had stolen his life. Oduma screamed. For the first time in his life, he felt true pain. He tore at his robes, his gold, his rings. He fell beside his son's body, weeping bitterly. He cried out, "Take me instead, leave my son." Death shook his head. His voice shook the night. "Your wealth cannot buy more time. Your fortress cannot shield you. Your title cannot command me. You lived as if you were greater than kings, greater than spirits. But now you see the truth. Even the boss must bow to death." And with that, Death stretched out his hand. Oduma felt his strength drain away, his chest grow heavy, his vision blur. His last thought was not of his gold, not of his fortress, but of his son. And so with that, death took Oduma too. The next morning, the villagers gathered outside the mighty fortress. The bronze gates stood open, and for the first time, silence hung over Oduma's compound. Inside, they found their boss lying still, his eyes wide, his amulet broken. The whispers spread. The death has claimed the boss. No man is greater than death. When the people heard what had happened, they did not mourn their chief. They said, "He took from us in life. Why should we give him our tears in death?" But they mourned Aduke, the innocent boy who gave his life for a father who did not deserve it. The elders shook their heads and said, "A boss without compassion is no leader at all. Wealth may buy power, but only kindness buys love. And when death comes, love is the only treasure that remains." And so, my friends, the story of Boss Oduma lives on. A man who thought he could control life itself, only to learn that death respects no fortress, no wealth, no power. The lesson is clear. Pride and fear will only chain you. Live with humility, love, and wisdom, because when death knocks, all that matters is the legacy you leave behind. What lesson do you take from this tale? Share your thoughts in the comments. And if you want more daily stories filled with mystery, wisdom, and the lessons of our ancestors, don't forget to like this video, subscribe to this channel, and return tomorrow for another tale here on Tales for All. Until then, stay wise.